Ontario Premier Doug Ford is taking a 5-month vacation. Or, in politically correct terms, Ford government to adjourn Ontario legislature until after the federal election. Ah, yes, skipping the federal election, are we, Doug? Well, more on that in a minute. First, what is the Ford government saying about this? What is their excuse? Well, here's what they say. Quote, since June 7th, 2018, the Ontario government has moved at an unprecedented pace. The government also touted its legislative accomplishments over the last year, including passing 18 bills, adding new jobs, and fulfilling many of its platform commitments. Yes, Doug Ford and his platform commitments, like freezing the minimum wage and rolling back labor reforms, including canceling 2 paid sick days. Or like cutting $1 billion from social services, including cuts to disability, cuts to low-income programs, cuts to education, and cuts to healthcare. Or like reopening the door to cash for access fundraising, because we all love when our politicians are bought by special interests. And don't forget one of his first orders of business, canceling the $100 million school repair fund. But David, you're yelling at the screen right now. David, Doug Ford, he's just being fiscally responsible. Doug Ford, just being fiscally responsible. Yes, just like when he canceled a planned surtax on the wealthy, worth $275 million a year. So, $100 million school repair fund, $275 million a year for the wealthy. I can't really do math, but let's just look at the polling and let's see what the people think. So, looking at a recent poll, the impressions of Doug Ford in Canada as a whole is 55% negative. And looking at Ontario, 61% negative. It hasn't even been a year, and the majority of people do not like Doug Ford. This is the reason Doug Ford is taking an extended vacation. Andrew Scheer and his Conservative Party, his federal Conservative Party, wants to win an election this year. And they don't want Doug Ford to be one of the major faces of conservatism in Canada. So Doug Ford is taking an extended vacation as to not hurt Andrew Scheer's chances in the election. That's what's going on. This government, if you can tell, when I cover Doug Ford, I get a little crazy. Because I have to laugh about how absurd this entire year has been. The crap that Doug Ford has been shoveling out there. I guess the one silver lining here is that the majority of people recognize that Doug Ford is a fraud. Recognize that this is a man who was born into wealth, born into privilege, inherited his money, inherited his business, inherited his connections. Don't forget, his dad was also an MPP. So Doug Ford has never had to deal with any actual struggle his entire life. At least not struggle in the terms of wealthy versus people that don't have any money. So Doug Ford, because of his very narrow perspective on life, has a very narrow perspective when it comes to policy, when it comes to stripping back labor reforms, when it comes to freezing wages. I mean, this is a guy who pretends to be, it's all about the budget. Guys, we can't spend all this money. We got to make all these cuts, all these millions of dollars of cuts in social services, in healthcare, in school. But if you're wealthy, well, you get a tax break because, I don't know, fiscal conservatism. Yeah. Doug Ford, we have 3 more years of this. So this is the kind of crap that I don't know. I don't really look forward to covering, but I have to, because we have to educate people on what this government has been about.